Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I thought I would finally answer the eternal question that we have seen people get annoyed about online in different forums. Is if you look at my screen, I'm in a table in interactive design mode, so I can add columns here myself. Please don't do that. It's horrible. You need to go into table design properly, the designer, and set the properties properly. Don't do this ever, ever, ever. Okay, back to the subject is, what do we call each of these? Are they called fields or are they called table columns? And does it really matter at the end of the day? Well, I created an article on this a while back based on a discussion where people were talking about exactly that point. And you'll see it also I've seen it in numerous other forums, Stack Overflow, etc. And some people that are there supposedly to help other people can get very annoyed when you use one term or the other. So I put my thinking cap on for a moment and I started doing a little digging to see, do they have a reason to actually be upset if somebody calls it a field or if somebody calls it a column? And what I found is the following. We can look at basic support documentation coming from Microsoft and other sources. And as you can see here, if we look at Microsoft to add column to a table, right? And if you come and take a look, they're showing you here, you can use the alter table statement to add and then a column, etc. So you have in the title itself, add columns to a table. So Microsoft is implying add a column. However, we're here talking to what? SQL Server, Azure. So not Access. If we look at alter table, it's going to be the exact same thing. Once again, we're talking about SQL Server. And you can do the same if you look at other databases. So MySQL, you'll see once again, they call them columns. So you start off by the premise that, okay, they're called columns. But then if we do a little bit more digging and we look at Access in particular, now we're going to see here that in Access, they're talking about data types and field property. Fields now. So in Access, every table in Access is made up of fields. So you see in Access now they're calling them fields, not columns. And we can then keep looking even further, and you'll see here if we look at the source of this quote, once again from Microsoft directly, but this time we're talking about Microsoft Access. Well, now they're talking about, if we come down a little bit here, alter table. And here they talk about adding a column field. So now we're getting both terms. So it wasn't bad enough before to ask, is it a column or a field? Here it's called a column field. It's one and the same. And alter column field, drop column field. And if you look at the definition down here, then they just talk about the field, the name of the field to be added or deleted from a table. Yet the command used the add column. You see here, add column, alter column, drop column. You get the idea. So in this same document, now we've got both terms. And if you go and look here, another support document for Access, now here they're calling it a calculated columns and also calculated fields. So now it's as if Microsoft themselves are confused and don't know what to call it. So now we'll use both terms. So all of this to say that the documentation, if we're talking about Access specifically, really doesn't help us clarify this point, because both are used in different documents at different locations. So which one is the correct one? Well, as I say here, they are interchangeable in the realm of Microsoft Access only. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. What you need to know is in Access, more often than not, if you're dealing with fellow Access developers, typically you're going to want to use the word field. Some of that might come even back down to VBA programming, DAO, field, things like that. But is it wrong to call it a column? No. If you're dealing with people that aren't Access developers, you're dealing with SQL Server admins, MySQL, Postgre, you're dealing with other IT people in general, then you're probably best to talk about columns. They're going to be more familiar with that. And you can also think of a lot of people when they're looking at Excel, they call them columns and rows, right? So a lot of people also that make that connection when they're looking at a table in Access and just calling it a column. So it really doesn't make a difference, okay? But yes, some people are very stuck and they have their preferences. And like I say, dealing with Access people probably call them fields, probably better, safer bet. Dealing with anyone else, call them a column. So I hope that helps muddy the waters a little bit for everyone. Fields, columns really doesn't make a difference. They both mean the exact same thing. So let's stop arguing about it and let's move on to something that actually matters. I hope this helps a few of you out there. I'm not sure if it really does, but yeah, that's the lowdown on table fields and columns and why some people get upset when you use the field name because typically these are individuals that aren't really Access developers. So for them, they really are columns. But nevertheless, you calling it a field is not an insulting offense per se. Thanks a lot for spending a couple minutes with me, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. As always, if you don't mind, like, share, subscribe, leave me some comments. What do you call them? Table, fields, entity, attributes? You have other terms that you use? Let me know. Drop me a comment. We'll see you. Take care.